Hello everyone and welcome to a truly remarkable game from yesterday's Julius Baer Generation Cup. It's really been a while since we've seen such attacking mastery at work. It is Hans, Moke and Niemann versus Levon, Aronian, and this game, you will not believe it. I mean, it's such a spectacular attacking game that it can serve as just a piece of admiration, but also as an example of how to properly attack. But you'll see what I mean by this. It's a very short game, some 20 moves, but I mean, what a game. Let's dive straight into it. Hans has the white pieces and he opens with e4. And before we check out the game, I would just like to mention that Gukesh has overtaken Arjun Erigaisi as world number 18 in classical chess by beating David Anton Guijarro in the Spanish league. And now Arjun and Gukesh are, Gukesh is currently number 18 and Arjun Erigaisi number 19 in world classical chess. So just a nice bit of info for you to wield, in front of your friends at the bar or the library. So now let's continue the game. Pawn to e4 and Levon goes for the Sicilian defense. We have pawn to c5, knight f3, d6, and pawn to d4. So just nice Sicilian, captures, knight to f6, we have knight to c3, and Levon goes, of course, for the Najdorf defense, pawn to a6. And now, we always mention that there are many moves you can play here, like literally any move here is a move and you can play it. But what's interesting is that Hans chooses the 10th most popular move, and that is bishop to d3. Probably something you don't encounter very often, but that's not what's weird about this game. So here we have g6, Levon prepares to fianchetto his dark square bishop, Hans plays f3. Okay, very nicely done, bishop to g7, and now there are some games where bishop to e3 was played, as it makes sense, also moving the knight to b3 was played, but here Hans plays bishop back to e2, and this is very, very odd. Of course, I'm sure Hans has a very good reason why he played this, that's why he prepared it for Levon, but what a mysterious move to play. And okay, and of course, it is as of this move, we have a completely new game, which is, for a knight of defense, very, very odd. So here, knight b to d7 by Levon, Hans castles, and now pawn to b6, preparing to fianchetto the light square bishop as well. We have bishop to e3, and now bishop to b7. And now Hans just plays queen to d2, going for the standard setup. You want to put the rook on d1, you want to maybe play bishop h6, trade off the dark square bishops, and so on. So one thing you will not do is maybe push g4, h5, as you would usually do against a fianchetto setup, as you have already castled king side, not queen side. But okay, let's see what they have in store for us. So queen to c7, Hans plays g4. And okay, Levon says, all right, very interesting and not very impressed. He goes knight to e5, and now Hans just plays g5. And okay, knight f to d7, and now Hans plays b3. He denies the c4 square for the knight, because it's a usual square. You want to play knight c4, you want to attack the queen, the bishop, and then white has to give up the light square bishop, so it's fairly standard stuff. And now what Levon has to do is, as Hans just weakened the c3 square, so it makes sense to play rook c8. You put pressure on the knight, and then Hans has to deal with this, or you castle, or you play knight to c6. However, here Levon played pawn to e6, and it's basically a move that in this particular position does nothing other than lose the game. So, but it's not impressive that it loses the game. What's impressive is how Hans does it. And it's just, like I said, a remarkable attacking artistry. So here Hans plays f4. And okay, you have to do something about the knight, but what do you do with the knight? And Levon figures that if he goes knight to c6, then Hans will play knight c to b5. And now the d6 pawn is extremely weak. It doesn't matter if you capture the knight or not. Even if you don't capture at queen here, just knight captures on c6, and after bishop captures, you have to capture as the queen is hanging. So bishop captures, now knight captures on d6 with check. You have to move the king. Your king side is ruined. You're not castling. This will be very easily winning for white. So your only option here after knight c to b5 would be to capture the knight, but then this knight captures on b5, again pressures c7 and d6, and once the queen moves, knight captures on d6 with check, king f8, and now let's say rook a to d1, and there's just too much for black to deal with. The monster knight here, the rook never entering the game, the knight on d7 is weak, f5 is coming, which will open up the f-file for the rook. There's just no surviving this. So what Levon tries is he goes rook to c8 now. He says, all right, you capture on e5, I'm just going to capture on c3. But Hans says, nope. He plays knight D to b5, now attacks the queen, also defends the knight on c3, and now Levon really has to capture. There's no other way, otherwise knight captures on d6 comes for free. So a captures, knight captures on b5, attacks the queen and the d6 pawn, and now queen captures on c2. Levon offers a queen trade, but now knight captures on d6, forking the king and the rook. We have king to e7, and now it's a beautiful, beautiful position. Hans has a truly spectacular attacking sequence installed. So feel free to pause the video here and try to figure out what Hans played while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this, well, just a brilliant, brilliant attack. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is f captures on e5. And now you can see that there's really nothing for black to do. How are you stopping rook captures on f7? There's just no good way to do it. You can play rook h to f8 to defend it, but then, of course, Hans will just capture this rook with check, and you will be down too much material to continue the game. So what you could do is try to go for a queen trade, but then rook captures on f7, and after king to d8, you will just win back the queen, and after, let's say, there's really nothing to say. I mean, the bishop on b7 is hanging, the bishop on g7 is hanging. There's no move you can make here. If you try something like rook to c2 to try and go for the bishops, you still just get obliterated. Knight captures on b7, of course, comes with check, then king c7, then rook captures on g7, and okay, you can capture here, but now just bishop to b5. And now if you capture, which is the only good move you have, let's say this, we can just trade captures on d7 with check, rook captures, bishop captures, and Hans ends up being up a full bishop. So after f captures on e5, Levon says, all right, I'm obviously not playing that. He tries knight captures on e5, but now Hans has an even more spectacular move, and that is queen to b4. Just outstanding, just threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries towards the black king. There's no way to stop this. The bishop also covers c5, so you can't just put something on c5. Even if you wanted to play rook c5, okay, you want to give back some material, queen captures on b6. Again, the bishop is hanging, the rook is hanging. There's nothing to play here. So after queen to b4, Levon tries queen captures on e2, but now Hans has a forced checkmate in however many moves he wants, but the cleanest one is in 3 moves. He plays knight to f5, delivers a double check from the knight and the queen, and he was in this position on move 21 that Levon Aronian resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. If you go king to d8 or king to e8, of course, just queen to e7 is checkmate, as the knight covers that square. And if you go to d7, of course, it doesn't help, just queen d6 check, king to e8, and now knight captures on g7 is checkmate. I mean, what a truly spectacular attack. Now, like I said, it's not all that impressive that Hans won this. What's impressive is that after Levon missed this, and of course it's a pretty big thing to miss, after b3 was played and the c3 square was weakened, okay, Levon plays the rook to c8 or he castles, and okay, white is still a little bit better, but that's pretty standard when you play this line. It's of course very much playable. But after, making this e6 move that does literally nothing in this position, although it's a very standard idea, it's remarkable how Hans just completely obliterates Levon, just sweeps him off the board. It's truly spectacular. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Hans. Truly an attacking masterpiece. I don't think we've had such a game for a very, very long time. Here are the standings after 3 days of the Julius Baer Generation Cup. If you guys are interested, there you have it. The top 8 qualify for the main event, and those top 8 are, for the moment, Magnus Carlsen. He retakes first place, even though he threw that game against Hans, so very, very impressive by him. Followed by Arjun Erigasi in second, Liam Le, Pragananda, Vincent Keimer, Jan Krzysztof Duda, Hans Niemann, and Anish Giri. And the other 8 who will still have a chance, as today 3 more games are played: Christopher Yu, Radoslav Wojtaszek, Vasil Ivanchuk, David Navarra, Levon Aronian, Ivan Šarić, Adibon Baskaran, and Boris Gelfand. So they will have to fight very hard. Not all of them can make it to the main event, but some will try. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really, just a spectacular attacking masterpiece. Maybe we see more such games in the future. I would like to thank Ante Butigan iz Dalmacije, Francis Eyre, Guia Para La Paz Interior, Stuart Matthews, and Henry Anumba for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. Really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Julius Baer Generation Cup until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.